sunshine, music is a powerful force that can instantly and almost chemically change your entire mood. Live from digital address GA0993341. Good evening, and with that quote from American musician Michael Franti and the voice of Patrick William Addaquay, I welcome you to Joy 99.7 FM and to tonight's edition, the Sound of Music edition of Springboard, your virtual university. Tonight will be a night to remember. Springboard is brought to you by Legacy and Legacy and your superstation Joy 99.7 FM. Let me say a big thank you to our hard-working, committed and devoted sponsor MTN, Ghana's #1 network, and our print media partner, The Graphic Business. Thank you for joining us on Joy 99.7 FM. We are live on Facebook at Joy 997 Albert NE Okran and Comfort Okran A. My name is Albert Okran, and on behalf of the virtual academic board comprising Comfort, Matthew, Priscilla, Amos, Emmanuel, and Jojo, I wish you a blessed Sunday evening wherever you're listening from tonight. So last Friday was an emotional day for our entire family as we laid our dad, Lieutenant General Albert K. Okran, to rest at a solemn ceremony at the Garrison Methodist Presby Church at Burma Camp, followed by the burial at the military cemetery at Burma Camp. Let me say a big thank you to His Excellency the President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo for honoring us with your presence. Also to former President Jerry John Rawlings, Defense Minister Honorable Dominic Nitiwul, Chief of Defense Staff, and all the Army, Naval and Air Force heads, former generals and retired officers of the Ghana Armed Forces, and the very high-powered team of clergymen led by Reverend Colonel William Jomfia, retired, and Reverend Captain G.N. Paul Ajay Jan. Let me thank every one of you for your prayers, your presence, and your encouragement and support throughout the period of our mourning. God has been gracious, has preserved and kept us, and tonight as we gather, we are focused on His goodness and His grace. Tonight is what we call our African Excellence Series, and we want to turn our attention to a subject that unites all of us, no matter which team you support. And good evening to my friends from Liverpool, Kojo Adai Mensah, Abednego Mensah. Good evening to you, wherever you are listening from. All my Liverpool friends, good evening to you, wherever you are listening from. Music is one thing that unites us, and tonight we call it the Sound of Music edition of Springboard because we are looking at the power of music as a shaper of vision, philosophy, societal consciousness, as a driver of change, as a form of therapy. And we will explore the life of a man who is doing amazing things with classical and other forms of music. My guest for tonight is that man who plays a one-man opera. With one instrument, converges all instruments into one and sings the various parts as a one-man choir. That is the voice of Alfred Patrick Addaquay. My brother, welcome to Springboard. It's the first time we're having you here, and it's just such a blessing to see you.
Thanks. And how are you doing, Albert?
I'm learning from you. Trying to sing like you. That would be my dream.
I shall be well.
It is good. It is good. It is good. It is good. Music is such a powerful force, isn't it?
Very, very, very powerful.
And so one person said to me, my colleague Emmanuel here, he says, whenever you sing the hymns in church, it's almost like you are possessed. I mean, he says, I literally sing the hymns with so much vim, like the Liverpool supporters singing, "You Never Walk Alone."
Oh, of course. Then today we will do the UEFA Champions League anthem.
Or the Italian guys singing their national. I mean, have you realized that the Italians, when they're singing their anthem, like before and co, it's almost like they have a national assignment that is very personal, more than the football.
And even Australia as well.
Yeah. It's powerful. How long has your association with music been?
Okay, this year will be my 25th year. Yes, I've been in music for 25 years. Though I started as a chorister and later as an organist and later as a pianist and a soloist. And then as I moved on, I did conducting, choral directing and orchestra conducting and all that. So of course, when I was in the University of Cape Coast, I learned music. Not necessarily classical music, but general music. So I did everything, but afterwards I decided to move into pure classical music. But I did everything: rap, high life, gospel, what I do, or jazz, everything. But just that I have my area of speciality, and that's classical music, or let's say arts music to be precise.
Did you study music formally in your education at Kivas?
Yes, I mean, I did a bachelor in music,
right?
So my first degree, my major course was music,
right?
And even my second degree, I did music theory and composition,
right?
And I'm still doing theory and composition in my third degree here.
Wow. The reason I ask this is that for you, I get the impression that your whole life has been around music.
Exactly.
Right.
You're not wrong at all.
Right. So, in a discussion that I was holding yesterday with someone exploring the career journey and how the bits and pieces along the line all end up converging towards what you eventually do.
Yeah.
I was trying to suggest that you may end up doing something, and yet everything that you did before feeds into that one thing that you do to make it richer, rounder, different, and unique. So for you that has stayed in music all your life, would you say that even experimenting with different genres and different expressions has enriched you as a classical musician?
Why not? For instance, I studied a little bit of history. And when I studied history, not history in music, as in general history,
right.
Now connecting to music, I realized that even in the 16th, 17th century, now I got to understand why some compositions were moving in a certain direction, why hymns started in a certain way and later on, changed in a certain form and all that. So I will say that, and of course, all the other courses I learned had a little bit of, especially I did literature as well, and now I understood why some of the hymns, were written in a certain way to make it sound like almost like a poem. All the hymns were poems. In those days, poets were writing the words and musicians were composing to it. But these days, the musicians do everything. So so I got to understand that learning other courses or other expressions and all that can also have a bit of influence in whatever you do. So no matter what, you may be a musician, a doctor, a lawyer, but you need a little bit of everything to make you, a very good expert in whatever you do. So I agree with you.
How critical has music been over the years in shaping civilization, directing, changing society, influencing the major developments in world history? How critical has music been from where you stand?
Oh, okay. Anyway, music can really shape society both negatively and positively, So if I'm talking about shaping society, I wouldn't only look at the positive side of it. But let's say even in Ghana, let me limit it to Ghana. Then we can move to the world and all that. Now, when in let's say around 1957, when Ghana gained independence, we had a very excellent composer like Dr. Ephraim Amu, who started composing a lot of songs around independence, praising the Big Sis, Ejanumi and Mamumo, praising, the leaders in the country and all that. And at that time, that's where he also composed the General Assassination and all that. At that time, people, with the music and all that, people were very passionate about, the country in terms of patriotic songs and all that, because most of the songs around that time were patriotic. And people were very, very passionate about Ghana, But it got to a time, and music also took another shape, instead of the normal patriotic songs and all that. Now, it got to a time, churches were developing. There were many branches here and there. So most composers now, had a lot of attention in terms of church music. So now it's shifted from the normal patriotic song, and of course, Professor Nketia in his days also wrote some love one or two love songs, and some artworks which were not necessarily religious. But later on, musicians were very religious in terms of their composition, and I feel that one also shaped the churches in one way or the other, because in those days, most churches were just singing hymns coming from the Western and all that. Now, when churches were growing, composers felt like, why don't we use our own rhythms, as Dr. Ifrimamu did, because before him, almost all the composers were still composing in the style of Western, right, because of the colonial masters. So now they also developed a way of composing in our own genre with our own rhythms, abaja, our high lives and all that. And people were really enjoying, in churches and all that. Now it also got to a time where high life and all that came in. It started like, oh, high life is for a certain class of people. That's why it's high, for high class and all that. Then it's gradually moved to, hip life and all that. Now, in terms of listening culture and all that, I can say that the kind of music you listen to can also have influence on you. So there are some styles or some kinds of music you listen to at times, you even feel like pulling a gun. There are some the kinds of music you listen to, you feel like getting closer to the Queen of England, getting closer to God. So it depends on the kind of music that you listen to and its influence. Yeah.
Let me go to a central theme that I'm sure will have relevance for every musician, as well as probably for every person talented. Or what is the price one has to pay in developing a natural or God-given talent to be able to become world-class in high demand across the world?
That's an excellent question. You see, one thing is that music, I always say that especially performance of music can be an art, and it can also be a science. When I say an art, there are some people naturally, they are gifted. No matter what you do, they are gifted. So the little they do, they can do it to a world-class level, okay? And there are some people who also learn it so well. That's where it becomes a science. They learn it in such a way that they can also get there. But if you are talented, you need to develop it. Myself, for instance, I was very talented. Even in the secondary school, I was playing, and the people were jumping, giving me money. My name was all over the country, even as young as 10 years. Everyone around my area of music knew about Addaquay. So I could have decided that, then there is no need to study music. Why don't I go and study something else? But by now, I may have been a normal lawyer somewhere, or a normal malaria medical doctor somewhere. So I think that no matter how talented you are, you still need the education of music to run. And it's not only about classical. It can be high life. It can be what you need, a little bit of education to shape what you are doing. And of course, with the sciences too, as I mentioned, those that are in the science, mostly those that really treat music as science, sometimes are some of the best musicians around, because they study the music like Bible. They study the theories, they study all that. So when they are conducting or when they are playing an instrument, they play with a certain understanding and a certain level of interpretation. But of course, if you are talented, you can do better. But someone that is not talented can do far better than you if you relax.
Let me come to a very personal side of your life and find out, have you ever felt like giving up?
In Ghana, the two of us know, we really know that when it comes to school, curriculum and all that, most teachers are always interested in science students, those that do well in mathematics and all that. So, of course, as a child, there were many times that even teachers were discouraging me from...
You're not doing well in math?
I was okay, but just that they felt that music was not very important. They felt that it wasn't really part of life and all that. And of course, at times you hear comments like, this guy, he's nothing but music and all that. And those days were very discouraging days for me, especially when I moved into the secondary school and I was coming out to the university, to study music, there were a lot of discouragements here and there, So at that time, of course, I almost gave up. But after learning, from my first degree to the second degree and all that, I realized that this is where God wants me to be, and this is my passion. So yes, now I don't, but once in a while, of course, something may happen, you may be sad and all that, but I could have given up long time ago, but for now, no.
It is 20 minutes past the hour of 7 o'clock. If you just joined us, this is Springboard, your virtual university. We call this the African Excellence Series, where we look at somebody doing something really well and have a conversation about how we can be excellent in our part of the world. What must we do differently? What can we learn about how to take your craft all the way to the top? What are the issues of discouragement that sometimes come in? And in this particular instance, we're looking at music as a force that can bring about change, that can shape the thinking of people, that can even be a therapy for people who are going through a difficult situation. After all, the Bible says that Saul requested a musician because he was depressed. So we're going to find out about everything about music and how it can be a strong force for good in our society. But my guest for tonight is Patrick Alfred Addaquay, helping us to understand his own journey as well as the thoughts about music as a force. We opened with a couple of Methodist hymns because those are like my bread and butter, as everyone would probably know by now. But what kind of music do you like, Addaquay?
Oh, okay. Apart from classical, of course, classical music. I love classical.
Let's take classical. Who's your favorite?
Okay, you see, it is a very difficult question. Do you know why? When I was young, I had one person in music as my mentor, but when I was growing, they were increasing in numbers. Now I have more than over 100 mentors. Because every in classical music, every period is very unique. The 16th century, the music in 16th century, 17th century Baroque is very different from let's say Handel's music and Bach. They are very different from Mozart and all that. Even Mozart later came to develop Handel's work. So most of Handel's work we know in Messiah, like Hallelujah Chorus and all that. Mozart is the one that came to develop it in terms of instrumentation and all that. But then at that time, you realize that there were more instruments. In Handel's time, the instruments were limited. So the Hallelujah Chorus that we are hearing now is the edited form, let's say Mozart's form. But at that time, there were few instruments, so it was very light and all that. Now, within Mozart's time, because there were a lot of instruments, they could explore with different, where you could hear the flutes playing alone, you could hear clarinets. Later on, when it came to the Romantic era, the orchestras were growing bigger, and now people wanted to express. If you are looking at history in the 18th to 19th century, there were many forms of expressions in terms of poems, and so music was very expressive at that time in terms of dynamics, where you can have music which is very soft immediately moves to a very loud section and all that. So every and the 20th century as well, every period is very unique. So it's every period and my favorite. So I would say that in the Baroque era, Handel has been my favorite because I was in choral music, and in choral music I feel that Handel is my god. He's the best. But even in Baroque music, when it comes to a part of, like, let's say counterpoints, if I mention counterpoints, meaning where we have instruments, different instruments playing different sounds, at some points, Bach is my favorite. Mozart can be my favorite when it comes to opera. Haydn when it comes to symphonies, sonatas, Beethoven. So I don't have a specific composer I like so much.
Do you find yourself doing a fusion of all these forms in your selections and in your performances?
Yes, I do, because because I learned piano. I was a piano major student, and as a piano major student, before I entered the university, I was a choral boy. So I was teaching choirs and all. So almost all the songs I knew were choral. But I got to know more about the instrumental section when I was in the university. And I learned sonatas, and I learned, inventions and counterpoints and fugues and all that. So, of course, upon all of them, learning the different styles and the different genres, and, of course, learning jazz music and all that, I feel that it all has influence in my style of playing. That is why at times, my interpretation at times may sound a little different from the normal classical player or something, because I have a certain way I interpret music because of the influences these composers had on me. And of course, because I'm a Ghanaian, I also had the chance of listening to great Ghanaian composers. Apart from Professor Nketia and Dr. Ephraim, we have different kinds of great composers, and of course all those styles and the rhythms and all that really have influence in my performance of classical music.
Right. When we come back from this break, I'm going to ask you to play us one of your favorite classical songs. And when you've played your favorite, I'll give you my favorite.
Oh, I know.
I won't tell you which one it is, but okay. I know you can play it. There's nothing you can't play. So I'm going to get behind the keyboard and give us one song, and let me dedicate this song to our listeners tonight. Thank you for being part of this family, the virtual university family. It was very wonderful to sit among army generals and find out that General Yachi, big accomplished retired generals, were all students of the virtual university. It was a flattering moment for me on Friday. So I dedicated the song to General Yachi, General Smith, all the General Blay, the big generals that were there to celebrate the life of General Albert Okran, and just to say thank you to you for the encouragement, and of course Lieutenant General Obi Akwa, the Chief of Defense Staff. Just enjoy the song. Addaquay, what song will you give us?
Do I have a favorite? Okay, let me do Mozart's Voike Sapete. It's a love song anyway. I know you are a reverend minister,
so do that one for me, and then I'll choose you. I'll choose Time to Say Goodbye, which I'll dedicate.
Okay.
I'll dedicate to my dad, General Okran.
Sapete che cosa è amor, donne vedete sia là nel cor, donne vedete sia là nel cor, quello che io provo vi ridirò. Desir corai dilato, corai martir, se noi poi sento l'alma vampar, e in un momento torno a gelar. Cerco in bene fuori di me, non so che io tieni, non sto così, sospiro, gemo senza voler, palpito e tremo senza saper, non trovo pace, non credi, ma pur mi piace languir così. Voi che sapete che cosa è amor, donne vedete sia nel cor, donne vedete sia là nel cor, donne vedete sia là nel cor.
What language is that? Italian?
Italian, yes.
What is it about classical music and Italian and
And those days in Germany and all that, those days most of the composers were there.
Right.
It was only Handel and few composers that moved from Germany. Handel is a German,
right?
But later on he moved to England. So almost all his compositions were in English, So Handel is more known as, let's say, an English, or let's say someone, a composer. So mostly they call him a German-born British composer.
Right.
So he was in Britain. So some of the classical works were there, but most of them were done in Germany, Italy, because almost all the composers were from there. I don't know why God raised almost all the great composers in Germany and Italy. I don't know why. But
every country has their place. So the reason I wanted to play "Time to Say Goodbye" is just to celebrate the life of a man who served his country, served his family, invested in my life. A man who lived to be almost 90 years old, and for many people, hearing his biography on Friday was a surprise for them, just considering how much he had invested into this country and into the lives of people. So this song I would like you to sing for Lieutenant General Albert Keokran, the late Lieutenant General Albert Keokran. The song is "Time to Say Goodbye."
Sono solo sogno, l'orizzonte manca le parole. Sì, lo so che non c'è luce, una stanza quando manca il sole. Se non ci sei, con me, su, lefne stray, mostrai tutti il mio cuore che hai acceso. Chiudi dentro me la luce che hai incontrato per strada. Time to say goodbye. I see all in my tutto con sé. Adesso si vivrò con te, partirò su navi per mari che lo so, non esistono più. It's time to say goodbye. Quando sei lontana sogno l'orizzonte, mancano le parole. Io sole su che sei con me. Tu mia luna, tu sei qui con me. Mio sole, tu sei qui con me. Time to say goodbye. Tsunami per mari che lo so, non esistono più. Con te io every good time to say goodbye. Tsunami per mari che lo so, non esistono più. Io con te.
Thank you, merci beaucoup.
All right, so this song is dedicated to the memory of Lieutenant General Albert Keokran, and good evening to Mrs. Kate Okran, Patricia, Francis, Sylvia, Vivian, Tina, Victor, Joy, Esther, and Sam. I'm sure that you enjoy this one as well, as we thank God for the life of the old man. Right, so back to the studios of Joy 99.7 FM to to this special program we call the African Excellence Series, and this is Springboard of Virtual University, exploring the sounds of music with the man Alfred Patrick Addaquay.
Don't worry, any of them.
The evolution of your name is another subject we'll discuss. We will discuss in a different forum. But let me bring a message from our sponsors, MTN. Patrick, just relaxing your seat for a minute. Let me bring a message from our sponsors, MTN, and then when I come back, let's look at recognition, awards, accomplishment, and impact. Please don't go away.
In this part of the world, we rise early, way before the sunrise. We plan, we pray, we prep, just so we are a step ahead. We keep the conversations going to stay connected to family, friends, and business. They say, Agrobeswa Ifrianopa, start your day bright with MTN Kokroko. For only $1 Ghana cedi, you can enjoy 400 megabytes of data and 30 minutes of free MTN to MTN calls every day from 5 a.m. to 8 a.m. everywhere you go. Dial *138# to buy MTN Kokroko bundle now. We're there for you everywhere you go.
It's 24 minutes to the hour of 8 o'clock on Springboard, your virtual university. My guest, Patrick Alfred Addaquay, as we look at the sound of music as a force for developing society, transforming people, and also as a career that he has devoted his life to. Addaquay, do you when you look at your career over the years, the recognition, the exposure, the awards, would you say that it's been worth it?
Yeah, I will say that there are better days ahead. But for now, I will say yes, because you see, as I was growing up, one of the most difficult aspects in my career, I'm going straight to the point, is that it was hard to find a lot of classical musicians in the country. So who to even look up to in your environment, was quite difficult. As I was growing, I met few, but they were very, very few, But then I will say that for recognition, yes, I will say it's okay. Even for Albert to call me here is a big recognition. So it's part of recognition. that alone, it's a big recognition. And of course, for national functions and all that. I mean, once in a while, last year, for instance, I was there when I had a call from the Flagstaff House that the president has requested you perform at our carol service, and I was proud. I was really proud of it. That I was asking myself, have I reached that stage where the president calls for me? It's a very big honor. Recently I performed at Otum for the King of Ashanti, his birthday, and he requested I perform, and that one was also I think a very big thing to me, because as I was growing, these were names that were very big and are still very big in the country. And I will say that I can't say all of them, but I feel that for recognition it has been okay. But as I'm saying, there are better days ahead, because I'm still very young. I know when people hear Addaquay, most people feel I'm an old man, because mostly classical music is related to old people and all that. Hey, everyone listens to classical, from kids to the old. And I feel for awards too, since childhood, from my primary school days to JS, I was always receiving awards for music, primary, JS, and even in Fanspim school. One thing that made me very proud was they created a special award which came to stay just for me, a discovery of the year, thinking that they discover a certain talent within a year, and that award was created just for me for the first time, and it stayed. I was very proud of it, because
I heard about that one.
Oh wow. And all that. But there are better days ahead, yes. So I know things will be you're going to see, better grades, better heights in future. Yeah.
When you look into the future, what specifically do you want to do going forward that you want to add on to your career? Okay,
as I mentioned, I'm on my PhD,
right,
and therefore I will finish or complete very soon. What I have in mind is to set up a music school. and that music school is going to be a music school of a very high class. By all standards, if I say by all standards, not by Ghanaian standards, but by all standards internationally. And then apart from that too, there will be a lot of concerts. There will be a lot of classical concerts in both Ghana and beyond Ghana. Because of schooling and all that, I've slowed down in one or two things. But after when I become a doctor, when I'm Dr. Addaquay, there are many things I'll do in terms of concerts, in terms of raising music schools, and of course, in terms of giving back to society. There are many plans that I have in mind. Yes.
Right. I find that I love a hymn like Captain of Israel's Host and Guide for several reasons. I find that to be one of my all-time favorites, and a couple of others. Which would be your favorite hymn?
Favorite, that's what I mentioned. It's very difficult for me to pick a favorite because every hymn has its own unique style. So every hymn I have.
Does your mood determine your preference?
Exactly.
Tonight, what do you feel like?
Oh, okay. I can do Christ Receiveth Sinful Men. It's of course it's one of my favorite Methodist hymns. Christ Receiveth Sinful Men, and of course, as you mentioned, Captain of Israel's Host. At times, before I perform that one, the singing of the hymns, because it's not necessarily those days, I would say those days it wasn't our language, but now English is very common. Because of that, most of the singers do not really bring out the expression of the music well. So when we are singing, it becomes very difficult for people to understand the text, especially the ones that are really poetic. For instance, a hymn like Captain of Israel's Host, of course, we are talking about God. And then it follows, and guide of all who seek the land above. So it is not Captain of Israel's Host and guide. Now, when it happens like that, yes, so when they sing a Captain of Israel's Host and guide, they pause there.
Right.
Of all who seek, then it becomes very difficult. It's just the sound people love. But in terms of the text, because the phrasing and all that, instead of, for instance, Captain of Israel's hosts and guide of all who seek the land, because some of the phrases are not really interpreted, so it becomes difficult for people to get the understanding of the hymns exactly, but then hymns are powerful, very powerful, as you mentioned. Yes.
Right. Do you ever sing hymns in Fanti or?
Yes, I do. But at first I loved it. But you see, as I was growing up, Efremamu influenced me so much, and Professor Nketia also influenced me so much in composition that now I wasn't really I wasn't very familiar with the Fanti hymns. I was singing them all right. Why? Because, for instance, let me give you an example. Professor Nketia has a song, Monkamfuno. Yenre Monkamfuno. So you realize that the music goes with in Africa, especially when Amu started, he made sure that the music is going with the pitch inflection. So Monkamfuno, Yenre. So he made a Monkamfuno, Yenre Monkamfuno. Monkamfuno, Yera Oshayen, Yedanwara. So in speech you say Yedanwara, and the same thing is Yedanwara. So when I learned all these compositions and I was coming back to do Ye Nyame Otiasi, it was quite artificial for me, because I felt that our African music must go with the pitch inflection, with the rhythms and all that. So I do fancy hymns, but not that much. I do.
Right. Let me go for our Data is King segment, and when I come back, we'll let our guest Patrick Addaquay play us one Methodist hymn.
Okay.
But let me bring a quote from American musician Lou Rawls, who says, "Music is the greatest communication in the world. Even if people don't understand the language that you are singing in, they still know good music when they hear it." And that's why you can listen to a song that is totally Italian and still
love
get it. Yeah, still love it. And that's what Lou Rawls says. Steve Wonder says, "Music at its essence is what gives us memories, and the longer a song has existed in our lives, the more memories we have of it." Let me bring you our Data is King segment that seeks to find opportunities in the numbers. And today we focus on cyber security. And from a report by Accenture, it says that the cybercrime economy has grown to at least 1.5 trillion in profits each year. Cybercrime economy, 1.5 trillion in profits. Security breaches have increased by 67% over the past 5 years, and 43% of cyber attacks target small businesses. What are the implications of these three numbers? One, that cybercrime economy has grown by 1.5 trillion in profits each year, and then security breaches have increased by 67% over the past 5 years. And the third one, that 43% of cyber attacks target small businesses. What does this all mean for us? Simply this, that all organizations and businesses, big or small, must be interested in cyber security. They must spend money to fight cybercrime and train their staff to be conscious of the need for cyber security. And look at this one. For instance, it's estimated that 70% of employees in the US do not understand cyber security. Charlie, if US 70%, then Ghana.
Ghana,
Charlie, next week I'll share with you what opportunities there are in this statistic I just shared with you about cybersecurity. In fact, for those who are now starting your careers and those who are looking for new career direction, next week, don't miss the Data is King segment. And thank you to Amos and your team for this segment. I'm going to go to Addaquay to give us one Methodist hymn. When I come back, we'll bring you a game changer segment with Jojo Khan. And this one, I can predict it will be something about Anfield or about Wanda Metropolitana. Please don't go away.
Sinners Jesus will receive, sound his word of grace to all, who the heavenly pathway leave, all who linger, all who fall, sing it o'er and o'er again. Christ receive a sinful man, make the message clear and plain. Christ receive a sinful man. Condemns me not, pure before the law I stand. He who cleansed me from all spot, satisfied its last demand. Sing it o'er and o'er again. Christ receive a sinful man, make the message clear and plain. Christ receive that sinful man. The last stanza, he says, Christ receive that sinful man, even me. Christ receive that sinful man, even me, with all my sin, purged from every spot and stain. Heaven with him I enter there. Sing it over and over again. Christ receive that sinful man, make the message clear and plain. Christ receive that sinful man. Sing it over and over again. Christ receive that sinful man, make the message clear and plain. Christ receive that sinful man.
Charlie, when I come back from this break, you have to sing the Negro spiritual.
Okay.
Every voice.
Oh, okay.
Sing.
Okay.
Because Charlie, every voice must sing.
You don't want us to do the UEFA Champions League, eh?
Oh, that
because
one.
of Liverpool. That will bring memories.
We'll do it
Later.
routinely.
Okay.
But let me say a big good evening to Mrs. Felicia Ade Mingle, mother of our own Priscilla here. 29th, that is Wednesday, was your birthday. Just enjoy this show and it's all yours. Jojo, what's the game changer for today on this very special Sound of Music edition of Springboard?
We will win at least one title in the next 4 years. If not, I will go and manage in Switzerland. Just 3 weeks ago, this prediction that Liverpool manager Jurgen Klopp made when he was first appointed in 2015 seemed unlikely to be fulfilled. Liverpool were 3 goals down after the first leg of their Champions League semi-final against Barcelona, and many had written them off, myself included. They looked set for a 4th consecutive season without a trophy. However, Liverpool staged an improbable comeback to beat Barcelona by 4 goals and qualify for the final in Madrid against Tottenham. But there was an elephant in the room. Klopp's team had reached the finals last year and lost painfully, with 2 goalkeeping errors handing the game to their opponents. Was history about to repeat itself? On the 1st of June, we got our answer. 90 minutes and 2 goals later, Liverpool were champions of Europe. Addressing his dearth of trophies after the match, Klopp said, "I played many more finals than I won, but we've always played better football." This is true. Prior to Madrid, Klopp had been in 6 finals since 2012 and had lost them all. In those 6 finals, Klopp's teams averaged almost 60% possession and played expansive attacking football, but came up empty-handed each time. So what changed Liverpool and Klopp's fortunes this year? This week, our game changer is experience. For the final against Spurs, Klopp learned from his previous failings and avoided expansiveness in favor of pragmatism. He switched things up and told his fullbacks to attack less, even though they had provided 20 assists during the season. This time round, Liverpool were more concerned with keeping a clean sheet than playing exciting football. They only accumulated 39% of possession, almost 20% less than the average club team in a final. Many have derided this match as being one of the most boring Champions League finals in history. But one thing is for certain, regardless of how they got there, Liverpool and Klopp are finally champions. At the end of the day, it's all about results, results, results. To close, I would like to leave you with a quote from author Rita Mae Brown. Good judgment comes from experience, and experience comes from bad judgment. This week, let's reflect on our experiences, both good and bad, and use them as a guide for our future endeavors. This has been the Game Changer with Jojo Okran. Have a phenomenal week.
Se
the song would have sounded nicer with the Man U Champions League. But I still dedicate this song to Bishop E.A.T. Saki, the so-called retired supporter of Liverpool. He says that he has retired. Daniel Amwating, Terry Mante, Abednego Mensah, Charlie, and Kujo Adai Mensah, all the Liverpool fans. Charlie, this song is for you. I dedicate it to you grudgingly, but I give it to you. Charlie, lift every voice and sing.
All right.
Coming up next is a Walk with Jesus, and we'll talk about regulation of churches and necessary evil. And Reverend Ransford Abelson will be hosting the Apostle General, Reverend Sam Kranchankra, with Bishop Fred Kranchi Mensah and Kofi Bentil in addition.
Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoice and rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark path has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought. The rising sun of a new day began. Let us march on till victory is won. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the of a new day begun. Let us march on, let us march on to victory.
Sign up with Hallelujah Chorus as Pastor Ransford comes in for the next show. And next week we come back with part 2 of building a godly heritage. And you want to join us right here on Springboard. Pastor Ransford, come into the studio. The Spirit is here. Please come in. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. For the Lord God omnipotent reigneth. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. For the Lord God omnipotent reigneth. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. The kingdom of this world is because obedi him für Sancti Frisanze. 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 King of King Frisanze. Mira, Frisanze. King of kings and Lord of lords, King of kings.
That is phenomenal. I can only say that is phenomenal.
Thanks.
God bless you.
God bless you too.
Great work, and we pray that grace will abound to you.